In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to make your move to Tampa Bay a little bit easier. Let's get started. Tip number 1, you really need to know the market. Right now, we are coming out of one of the hottest sellers markets we've seen in probably 20 or 30 years. So if you go back to 2020, between 2020 and say the middle of 2022, basically if you were a seller in the Tampa Bay area, it was like winning the lottery. You could sell your home for sometimes as much as $100,000 or more above market value and get it. And people were clamoring to buy homes. They were coming from all over the country, sometimes in other parts of the world, and they were buying homes left and right. They didn't care how much money they had to spend. They had deep pockets, and it drove prices consistently up. Now, we have gone past that. 2022, about, I'm going to say probably June, July, August, somewhere's in there, it started to taper off. And since then, we've actually seen prices dropping pretty much across the board. I'm not talking about a crash. I'm just talking about the housing market normalizing to pre-COVID levels. We've also seen the number of people searching for homes in the Tampa Bay area drop by as much as 38 to 45%. That's a huge drop. That's nearly in half. And so what we're finding right now is far fewer multiple offer situations where you're competing against 4 or 5. Sometimes, in my case, with some of my customers, we've competed against as many as 22 and 23 different buyers for the same home. That's almost an impossible situation, even though we've been able to get past that. So the market right now is normalizing. Does that mean you're going to find a deal? Does that mean you're going to find a home cheap? You need to be able to get a mortgage pre-approval, okay? But you also need to be aware that interest rates have jumped. I mean, we were looking at 2 and 3% interest rates for a long time during that whole COVID period. Now we're looking at interest rates in 5, 6, sometimes 7%, depending on, your financial situation, your credit score, so on and so forth. But it also may mean making some hard financial decisions, getting rid of a lot of your debt, building your credit, making sure that you have the finances to not only be able to make the move, to be able to buy a piece of property, but also to make the move as far as, getting the movers to help you, having a job. A lot of lenders want to see at least 3 or 4 months of steady work in the new area before they lend you money. If you're not coming down here with the same job in the same company, you're going to need to talk to your lender about that. That's something that's going to be very important to your lender to determine whether or not you're going to qualify for a loan. Do you know what your credit score is? If you're using something like Credit Karma, don't do that. It sucks. Sorry, Credit Karma, but you suck. You really do suck. It can be off 40, 50 points up or down. And so you could be thinking you're in 725 and you're really like at 650. And so you want to know exactly where you stand credit-wise. Experian has always been the one that I recommend to most of my customers. And so if you get on Experian's website, don't pay for anything. Don't get hooked into that. No matter how much they try to get you to pay, don't pay. But their free version is going to be everything that you need it to be. You'll be able to get all of your credit information. You'll be able to figure out what things on your credit report you need to expunge. And you can do it right from Experian's website. And I'll put a link to Experian in the description below. But once you get those things taken care of, you've gotten the stuff off of your credit report that needs to be taken off, you've gotten your credit score up, you need at least a 640 at this point. It would be better for you to have a higher credit score, but at a bare bones minimum, a 640 is going to be probably where you need to be. The next thing is making sure you've got enough money in the bank to pull the whole thing off. If you're going to use an FHA loan, you're going to need 3.5% down, plus another 3%, maybe a little bit more for closing costs. Remember, closing costs are different than your down payment. Closing costs are what you pay to everybody that has something to do with processing your loan or processing your mortgage and your deed and your title work and all of the other things that go into closing a home. So with closing costs, you can pretty much figure that anybody that touches the paperwork for your deal is also putting their hand in your pocket or pocketbook. And so because of that, you can figure on an additional 3% or 3.5% for closing costs. Now, if you're using a VA loan, fantastic, no down payment, that makes it easier. If you're eligible for, or if the home is eligible for a USDA loan, no down payment, that's fantastic. If you're going conventional, then you may end up with a 5% down, 10%, or 20% down. So knowing what your finances are going to be and what you qualify for, it's going to be a big deal. The other thing to remember is the state of Florida has something called the Hometown Heroes Program, and it's just been revamped as of July 2023. So guess what? That means that if you qualify, even if you're not a resident, if you're moving into the state and you're going to be a resident, now if you're looking at a vacation home or a second home, it's not going to apply. But if you're coming into the state and you're looking to actually move into the state, you may qualify for the Hometown Heroes Program because it's been broadened to more than just the 40 or 50 different occupations that originally were part of the Hometown Heroes Program. And it's also gone up from $25,000 to $35,000. So you could get up to $35,000 in closing cost and down payment assistance for your move. So that is freaking awesome. So these are all things that you need to talk to your lender about. If you don't have a local lender, let me know. My number's down below. I'll be able to give you some information on a few different lenders that I work with the most, and we'll hook you up. Let's start looking at neighborhoods. Now that you've figured out how much you can afford, what the bank is willing to lend you, and what you've gotten your pre-approval for, now we can start looking at neighborhoods. So let's just take Tampa as an example. I grew up in Tampa. I lived there for 23 years before I moved to Polk County. Lived in Lakeland for 30 years before I moved to Winter Haven, and I've lived in Winter Haven for 5 years. That means I'm old. Okay, I get it. My daughter tells me that all the time. So, if you were looking in Tampa and you wanted to see the difference in your lifestyle between living in, say, downtown Tampa or living in, say, Davis Island, okay, or Hyde Park, or around MacDill Air Force Base, or if you went further north, up in West Chase, or Carrollwood, or New Tampa, all of these different areas, and I know a lot of you are going, I don't know any of these places, and I get that. But Google Maps and a little bit of research is going to really help you in determining whether or not any of these places are going to strike a chord with you. And what you want is to look at the community. What does that community offer you? If you were to move to, say, Winter Haven, where I live right now, and you love nightlife, if you love to be able to get up at, midnight, out of the house, go find something to eat, go find something to do, Winter Haven's not going to be for you. Winter Haven, pretty much the streets roll up at 10 o'clock at night. So it's a quiet community. You're not going to find any kind of after-hours activities, even on the weekends. Now, if you go to Tampa, if you go to Orlando, if you go to other places, you're going to find more of that. That's going to depend on what you really enjoy doing. If you're more into outdoors, then you're going to want to be a little bit further away from the center of town. You may want to be closer to Polk County. You may want to be in Polk County. You may want to be closer to, say, Pasco County, the Lutz, Land O'Lakes area. These are the things that you need to kind of determine ahead of time. Do you want to be close to the water? Do you want to be close to the beaches? Are you prepared for the negatives of being close to the beaches? Paying more in taxes, paying more in insurance, having more issues with storms. All of those things need to be settled before you actually start looking at picking a neighborhood. So start thinking about your lifestyle. Start thinking about where you want to be. Don't just go looking at homes first. Homes are going to be pretty much the same all over the state of Florida. But that community, that place is going to be different depending on what your lifestyle is. So let's start with that. Okay, now, tip number 4. Start planning your move. Are you selling a home wherever you live right now? Doesn't matter whether you're moving from Tampa to St. Pete, or from Chicago to Tampa, or from New York to Winter Haven, okay? You need to have a plan for how you're going to get all of this done. Now, I have had customers come to me. I had a young lady come to me from Tennessee. She had sold her house already. Her house was sold. She was getting ready to move. She was getting ready to close on it. She called me up and she said, Vince, I only have one weekend. For a realtor, this is like the scariest call you can get. I only have one weekend. I'm coming in this weekend and you're going to find me a house, and by the end of the weekend, I want to be under contract. It's a true story. So I had 3 days to find a home for and to get her under contract. And you know what? I did it. Okay? I did it. It was cool. But it was a pain. Now, she was an awesome person to deal with. She's a great customer. Fantastic woman. But I'm telling you, from Friday to Sunday, all we did was look at homes. We put probably 6 offers on 2 of those days. We put 3 offers a day. And we probably looked at 11, 12, I forget how many homes. But at the end of the day, she found the one that she liked. One of those offers was one of the homes that she wanted, and the rest of them we pretty much just turned down. We can do that. We can put, if we're pressed for time, we can put as many offers as we need to, and then you basically have the right of first refusal when that offer that you want on the house that you love the most comes through, then you can let the other ones go. You can make those decisions. But here's the thing. Why have to do it that way? Why? It doesn't make sense. Pre-plan. Use a little bit of forethought and say, you know what? It's going to take 30 to 45 days to close on a house. It may take a little bit longer if you're still selling your home. And that's another thing to think about. If your home's not under contract already, a lot of sellers won't even look at your offer because they want to know that you have an offer on your home before they accept an offer on the home that you want to buy. Because what if your home doesn't sell? Now they're stuck. So there's a lot of things that we need to play out here in order to make that move a little bit more streamlined. So give yourself some time. Start as early as you possibly can talking to the lender so that you get your finances pretty much taken care of. That's one chunk. Now, if you already know where your finances are at, that's cool. Once you've gotten that taken care of, the next part of your pre-planning is going to be to determine, okay, how long is it going to take me to get my home under contract, and how long is it going to take me to find a home? You're going to want to really work on learning the market and doing all the things that we've talked about up until now before you put your home on the market, so that you already know where it is you want to be. You're already ready to make a decision. You're ready to kind of move in there and get things started. And that way, when your home does come under contract, you're going to be able to put an offer on a home that you like and be able to get moving on that as well. That puts us in a position of being able to do a dual closing, which means within a day or two of each other, you can be closed on the house that you're selling and then closed on the house that you're buying and ready to move in. Okay? That makes sense. All right. Next step. Next step is you really want to make sure that in all of this you get good representation. Now, as a realtor, I'm here to represent you as the buyer. Okay? My job is to help you sort through all of this. And that's what I do. That's what I love to do. I love to help buyers buy homes in Tampa Bay. And so if you need me to help you, my number's down below. If you have questions, feel free to give me a call. Doesn't cost anything for me to talk to you, but I would love to help you if you're looking at making that move and you want a little bit more education, you want a little bit more of an idea as to how things go. This video is kind of an overview of everything that goes into the basics of buying a home in Tampa Bay. We also have something called a buyer's consult that I can do through Zoom or in person if you happen to be here. The buyer's consult is a lot like drinking out of a fire hose. It's a lot of information, but it takes you step by step through the buying process from beginning to end. And it's this information, but a lot more in depth. So give me a call. Number's down below. Let me know if you need my help. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope to hear from you soon.